Hello, and we're going to continue with lesson 2 on learning SQL language. We're just going to go over a few important keys to know prior to working in the database and creating data and retrieving data. For our objectives for this lesson, we're going to go over relational databases, what it means, primary and foreign keys, data types, and null values. Relational databases, just a collection of tables stored in a database that relate to each other. An example would be if a company sells a product. Now they're going to want to have a table with customers, they're going to want to have a table with orders, and they're going to have a table with invoices. And these are all going to relate to each other because the customer is going to place an order, the order is going to create an invoice, and the invoice needs to relate back to a customer. This is where our primary and foreign keys come in, like I said with the customer table. The example I have here is employee to invoice. Now, you see the employee, the primary key is an employee number. That's going to uniquely identify the employee. Invoice is going to have an invoice number. That's going to uniquely identify the invoices. Those are primary keys. In the invoice table, you will see an employee ID. Now, this is a foreign key which allows this table to relate back to the employee because you will see the employees that are responsible for which invoice by relating this employee ID with this employee number. And that is the basis for primary and foreign keys, is to be able to relate the unique values to each table. Now we're going to go over data types. Data types, there's 30 different ones. We're going to go over the 3 main categories. We have numeric, which includes bits, integers, decimals, real numbers, mainly used for calculation purposes, with the exception of the bit field. Bit fields are normally 1 and 0, which is mainly used for true and false. Then we have character types, which are string types, usually the varchar and the char characters. Varchar is varied. It can go up to 20 characters. The character field is set or fixed, which means it's got that number of characters in it. And they're string types. And when you provide the value, it's going to have single quotes. Then we have the date time data type. And it's exactly what it states. It's date, and then there's date time. Now, date will just have the date. Time will have the date and the time. And these are useful for finding differences between 2 dates. Like, say you want to know when an invoice was mailed out to a customer versus when they paid it. And you'll see an example of the different types of data types in the columns for the employee table. We have numeric, varchar, and the date. Null values. Null values is just unknown. It's not empty, it's not 0, we don't know what it is. Now, in the primary and foreign keys, you will never have a null value because there needs to be a unique value to relate each one back. But if you have a column in your table, say the middle initial of a customer, and that column's in there, you would expect that to be null because not everybody's going to have a middle initial, and you want to be able to continue. And if you're entering data, you don't want to be stuck because you don't know somebody's middle initial. So if it's unknown, it's going to be null. That field is marked that can be null, and you can move on. Now, in our next lesson, we're going to go over creating tables, inserting data, deleting data, updating data, and altering tables.